Hey, here we are. How are you guys?
We are doing good. How are you?
Not so bad, not so bad. A little bit tired, but nothing that 38 years old guy can't handle, I guess.
Gotcha.
Not 20 anymore, but
You're a young spring chicken.
oh, it doesn't show. I'm glad I wasn't drinking last night because, oof. So we already have a little homestead by the beach. Marilyn, welcome to the chat. Cajun hydroponics. I never know how to pronounce the first word. Uh,
Which
Gail
one?
Southern Living is here. Bucket
Oh, Cajun.
Homestead.
Yeah.
Cajun. Yeah, Rent's
Cajun
Homestead.
hydroponics.
Okay.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Hi, Lynn. Ren's, I think it's Jack and Lindsay, right? So it's going to give you guys a chance to have a little chat there. Marilyn, you have a few questions for them. So last week I was interviewing Christine Haché. She has a little homestead not too far from here.
Mhm.
And she showed some wooden spoons that she had. She had them for sale. So I decided to purchase 2 spoons from her and just do a draw randomly like that on my live stream. And Marilyn decided to sponsor one of those spoons as well. So I did a third draw, and it's Ren's Homestead won that spoon.
That's
Um,
awesome.
there was Luis Mastro Mateo that won the first one, and Annie Back to Basics Homestead won a second spoon.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
I'm gonna bring it to her when we go to the conference. So I was supposed to have another friend of mine on here with me today, and he had to cancel last minute. He had some other issues to take care of, and I reached out to Angie to see if she wanted to come here, and she said yes. So I'm very happy to have you guys here. Um,
Thank you for having us.
well, no problem. It's always more fun for me to have someone else here because since my main language is French, I feel like it would be, you know, probably even more boring to hear me talking to myself. So, um,
Never, Remy, never.
I barely speak English very well, so
well, for you guys, it's easier because whatever
Yeah.
comes in your mind, you can most of the time say it, and it's gonna come out fine. But I mean, I have to think about what I want to say, then do a little translation in my head, and then hope that it comes out right. So it's a
So
little
kind
bit
of like
more,
how I speak French, which I don't really speak French, but if I was going to, it's the same process. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm getting there. Hopefully, I'm hoping that I'm getting better speaking English on my live streams. I
Hmm.
do speak English often at work, and I mean it's been the case for probably the last 20 years, but it's not natural yet to just go and have a big conversation with someone. So I'm
Hmm.
hoping to get there eventually. I know if I go to the conference, it's going to help a little bit on that end because most people there are going to be English. So
Hmm.
I kind of turn myself into an English um, state of mind, or I don't know what's the right word to say, but once I'm
Yeah.
there, I'm usually a little bit better. Same thing happened when I went to Pittsburgh a couple of years back. I had a whole week training only in English, and I had to just flip a switch. Okay, now you have to speak English, you have to think English, like everything, and it was mindset.
Well, I don't have any trouble. Like to me, you are doing very well.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So first thing I wanted to touch base on, I told you before we came on live. Uh,
Hmm.
you've got those questions often. Same answers probably come in most of the time. But I'm gonna try to dig a little bit deeper. I'm gonna use Darren's words, I guess, and try to dig a little bit more into your minds.
Okay.
Um, what made you decide to start a homestead and maybe go a little bit more on the off-grid? I know you're not off-grid at the moment, but you were at some point, and you're hoping to get back there. So, what's the reason behind it?
Want me to?
self-sustainability. We really enjoy not having the bills, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's even a time we've talked about it before where a neighbor came by in the middle of winter and asked if she could use our stove, and we're like, of course, but why?
Mhm.
Well, they had no power for like 4 days at that point, I think.
Yeah, they were on day 2, but it lasted 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And we had no clue.
Yes.
Yeah, we had no clue. But what made us go off grid? Honest for me, I'd always dreamed about living off grid. Was never a goal, really. It was more the country life. And so Mike and I had searched for years, probably I'd say 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
And we searched for property. Nothing would ever come in our budget. And then one day I was just looking on realtor.ca, and I found what looked like a little shoebox, but it had 12 acres. And so I showed Mike the viewing or whatever, the realtor page. And he was like, no, that's tiny. That's like a shoebox. And I'm like, okay. So then, because we had, at this point too, we had lots and lots of, we had made trips out to go look at other properties. We had seen lots of advertising, lots of different properties. And so we weren't, something was calling me to it. Long story short, something was calling me to it. So I let it go because he wasn't on board at first. And then a week later, it popped up on my screen again. So I showed him. And he's like, okay, we'll go look at it. But neither one of us had been to this area before. And when we came up to look at it, he was surprised because it was much bigger, and the ad did not do this place justice. We knew it was a diamond in the rough. We knew it had been abandoned for a little bit. But we decided, I think that day we decided that's it. We're going to do this. It was perfect in our price range. If we sold our house for a certain point or price, then, we would be able to do it and have about a year's worth of income left over, because we knew nothing and no one up here. And then off-grid was never really on the table for us. It was just more the country living. And then, yeah, we bought it. We left our careers, everything, and came up here to try to see if we could make a go of it. So that was our first cabin,
Cool.
which we moved to in 2019.
So, I know, Mike, you were in the Army, right? At some point. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. For about
So
4.5 years.
Did any of those maybe skills that you acquired back then helped you maybe see things differently when you approach the off-grid life?
Somewhat. I had a bit more of that survival stuff going on when I was a kid. My great aunt was a Girl Scout leader, and so she used to teach me all sorts of stuff to kind of keep me entertained. But I really fell in love with, camping out in the middle of the woods, going out with nothing more than a tent and a sleeping bag and just trying to make a go of it. So I was really into that as a teenager and everything.
Did the military do anything for you, though, do you think?
The military taught me more. What I took from the military was more of the field medic skills. So those really make me feel more comfortable being further away from civilization.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's all basic stuff that they teach you and train you to do. So that I'm not an actual medic, I can't really diagnose anything. But if you break a leg, you break an arm,
Yeah.
or stuff like
Those
that.
skills would help you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
first aid skills.
Yeah.
For me, it was like when we first moved up, I'd always dreamed, I always romanticized about this kind of life. I was wrong about it, but I still try to hold on to that romantic idea of it. But when I moved up to the cabin, it had no running water, no electricity, no hydro, like not even any solar setup.
We couldn't even use the stove because it had a water jacket that was dry. And if you run the stove, you run the risk of ruining the pipes in the water jacket. So we couldn't even use the stove for heat.
Yeah. And all our stuff was in storage an hour away because there's no storage facilities up here.
Yep.
So,
we literally,
but we were camping and we were enjoying it. The first couple of weeks, it was totally fun and we were camping and enjoying it. But then the work came.
Yeah.
So you're talking about having a romantic life, and how much of that is Mike's fault? Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, when a couple
All
of
of it.
years back, when I started hearing about people living off grid, people doing the homesteading life, I had in mind when Alaska Last Frontier started. How they were. Um, I don't want to say poor, but this is probably the way that people would see those people. If I saw someone, especially 10, 20 years ago, if I saw someone with a farm, animals, and doing their own garden, I had in mind that, okay, those people are poor and they have to grow their own food.
Mhm.
But now I don't necessarily feel that way. I see things way differently, especially when you see the cost of a farmland.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The cost is so high. I'm just gonna say hi to everyone here. Welderstead came in, Grace and Fire, welcome. Melissa at Little House in the Big Woods. Sean, welcome to the chat. I'm glad you're here. I almost had you here up with me, but Angie replied first. I'm
It's
gonna have
because we have better blankets. Sean
hello,
knows
Sal.
we have an inside joke with Sean about blankets.
I'm gonna have to hear about that at some point. I'm gonna have Sean with me if things go well. I'm gonna have Sean with me on the 15th of April.
Oh, nice.
Discuss a little bit about his lifestyle.
Yes, his kudos to him.
I guess I was going where was talking a couple of minutes ago. The way that people see this lifestyle.
Mhm.
If someone came to you and told you those things, you're living as a poor person or whatever, like we know the money is not necessarily our biggest asset, but if you had 5 minutes to explain the lifestyle to that person to make them understand what our lifestyle really is, what would you tell them?
I got this.
You go ahead and then I will say mine.
The true currency of life is not money, it's time.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now is we bought our time back.
Yeah. We work hard. And right now, like we'll have to go out and get jobs one day, and probably soon, but we work hard and we worked really hard to get here. And so I don't think it's for everybody. I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know how to say it.
We get to work for ourselves.
Yes, I don't think it's a poor way of life at all. I find here's what I was trying to say. I have way more of a connection now with everything, with even the earth, my husband, God, my children, everything. I just had my neighbors. I have more of a connection now than I've ever had. And before, when I lived in the city, it was go, go, go. You wake up, you got to get ready, you got to go to work, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to make sure all these tons of bills were paid. And for me, it just didn't sit right. And again, that life's not for everybody. There are people, and some of our children that are adults now, they thrive on, living in the city and whatever. But for us, I don't know, it's a way of life, I guess. But I don't remember the initial question you asked. So I was rambling there, trying to come back to it, and then the sometimes kicked in.
Yeah, I was just asking if you could speak to one of those person that sees us as being maybe poor. What would you tell them to make them understand our lifestyle?
Seeing us as being poor.
I know.
They have this. We're kind of stigmatized by our way of living. We had this discussion before where people see our property and, okay, it looks disgusting because we have chickens, and then we have the pigs, and then we have this and that, and we have, we tend to recycle as much as we can and reuse old stuff. And some people are probably worse than me in terms of, their yard looks almost like a scrap yard, and they try to use everything they have, but it doesn't really look pretty to the eyes but at the same time, it's kind of an art in itself because you take
Yeah.
something old and broken and you fix it into something else that you can actually use for the way we're living.
Right. Yep. I had a thought and then the screen popped up and I lost it. I will come back to that. I promise. I had a good point. And then my computer told me something about a software and it just out it went. I'm not giving a good representation.
I don't know. I know the biggest motivator for me to get out of the city was I I never thought of myself as more of a country boy,
Yeah.
but I didn't grow up in a big city. I grew up in the city, but just not like Toronto, New York, Atlanta. Those are like big cities.
Mhm.
And I started to develop anxiety over 10 years.
Yeah.
Driving back and forth on the 401 and all the chaos going on all the time.
Yeah.
And I felt caged.
I remember when we lived in the city too. This isn't towards the question, but it kind of goes with what Mike said. I felt there was so much there was so much busyness going on. And then we came here. And I remember I was always like, Friday night came around and we were always bored. What do we do? What do we go out and what do we do? And we were always trying to find something to do to have a good time. And I have not yet. I mean, he has a couple of times, I think, but I have not been bored because if I get bored, I can go out and just be with the animals. And then, we're always doing something. So yeah,
There's always something to
there's
build.
always
There's always
something
something
to, and
to
right
fix,
now we're
something to
building a
improve.
house. And so, yeah.
I find that this way of life is, I wouldn't say easier because I don't think it is, but
Mhm.
I'm guessing I'm gonna say it's more simple. It's a simpler way of life
Yes.
where you actually get to kind of cool down a little bit and do things your own way at your own speed.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're getting what I'm trying to say. Um, I work in a pharmacy, and one of the pharmacists was telling me, someone that starts taking drugs, you get a certain high, and then those people are always trying to get that same
Yeah.
high, and they never reach it, which is why they keep trying different type of drugs.
Mhm.
And I think that the way that we lived before, like you said, going out in a bar, the first time you go out, you're gonna have a blast. Maybe the first couple of times you're gonna go, but then it's like redundant. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now what? Like it's boring. Like, what did we do the first couple of times? It was so fun, and you're trying to get that back, and it doesn't happen. So you change and you go. Let's say you go and start going to the hockey games. The first couple of hockey games are gonna be fun, and you're gonna meet new people, and you're gonna have a drink, and eat a poutine, and then suddenly you realize that what, like, it's getting boring again.
Yeah.
The way that we're living, I mean, I've been doing live streams for maybe 2-3 months now.
Mhm.
Every time I come up, I have someone different with me, with a
Yeah.
different story, with a different background,
Yeah.
and I love it. I might get bored at some point. If I do, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna take a break. But for now, there's always something different happening. There's always a different problem, and like you said,
Yeah.
there's always something to keep us busy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to teach the kids at the same time,
Yeah.
especially in the garden department.
Yeah.
They know how to raise the chickens a little bit now, and they know how to raise the rabbits a little bit. I'm trying to not go too fast because I mean I know they're younger.
Mhm.
I want to keep them interested so that they can do this way of life when they grow older. If one of the five does it, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And talking about children, you have children? How many kids do you have? Well, I know they're not kids anymore, but
No. Our baby, how old is she now? She's
23.
23, yeah. And then our oldest is 27 this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have 4 kids between the two of us. So, yep. And
and how do they see this way of life?
I think originally they didn't understand.
yeah.
Um, we had taken them camping and everything as much as we could, so they knew we liked to be out in the woods,
Yeah.
but they didn't see us being so far away from everybody else and living as far off grid as we do. They just didn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
But the more the prices of things go up, the more they see, the world as it is, the more they seem to understand.
Yeah. Not only, I think too, they weren't hurt. That's not the right word, but they didn't necessarily want us to move out here either. They didn't understand it because we'd always lived in the city. They knew it was kind of a dream in the back of my mind, but they never thought we would do it. I was at a point in my career where I literally told them, or I put an offer in for the cabin that we moved to. And then the next day I got a call from work saying, that job that you've been working so hard for the last few years? Yes, it's on the table and we want to interview you. And it would have been my job. And I gave it up. And I had graduated college just a few years before. So it was something that I had been working really hard towards, and I gave it all up to come to this life. And I do miss my work. It was my favorite job in the whole world. And I do miss the work that I did. But as time went on, we've heard comments from all of the kids like, man, if I could just come out here, or, like, I wish that I could do this now too, or they love coming up here for a break. And another thing that I really loved about it too was the grandkids. So, for example, Mike's dad did a little bit of farming when we were actually together. So it was when Mike was older, but we had been around chickens a little bit before. My brother had chickens, but we never did anything like that on our own. And so I remember when we first got chickens, that's all we had. And our oldest grandson was the only one at the time. He came up and he was so afraid of those chickens. And now he's just like, can I go get the eggs, Grandma? And he's totally used to them now. So exposing them to that kind of life, to also give them a connection. I didn't think about that when we first moved up. And it was hard for me to leave the kids. They're 3 hours away, but they all had their own lives. And so it was hard for me to do all that. And that's when I had to look into the future and say, what is this going to bring for them? Mm-hmm. Because right now it's going to suck because they're not with us. We're not just like, can I come over for a coffee, Mom? We're not that close anymore. But to see the difference that it's making in their world and also in the grandkids' world, that now helps. But it did hurt more in the beginning. But sacrifice, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Sean had a good point here. It's a harder work that benefits you more in the end.
Yes.
And, when you go to work and you do a good job, it's not always it's not that often that your boss is going to come and give you a little tap on your shoulder and tell you that you did a good job. Mm-hmm. that feeling you get, it's still a little bit important when you work. You want to have that feeling that you're appreciated and that what you're doing is making a difference. My boss is good for that. I mean, she tells me often that she likes the way I do things and she likes my work. But then it comes back to what Annie said a couple of weeks back. When you grow your own food, it gives that feelings times 10, times 20. You don't need that little tap on your shoulder because you actually get the feeling when you eat your own food that, I grew this from start to finish. I fed this animal from start to finish. It's a whole different story. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
You're rich in joy of self-sustainment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Frugal, not poor.
When we lived in the city, and Mike wanted the country life too. I don't think either one of us wanted this far out where we are, but it was what we could afford. But when we lived in the city, I said, okay, well, right now I'm close to everything. I'm close to takeout dinners if I don't feel like cooking. I'm close to grocery stores, everything. And so I have to practice what I preach before I move out, because I have a mind that can go many different places sometimes. And so I wanted to make sure that I was built for it in the city before I actually did it. And so going back to the poor thing and the money thing, by growing our own food in the city, by not going to the grocery store every single week, by stocking up on sale items. And we were poor because I had quit my job to go back to school at this time, and we didn't have a lot of wiggle room. We were house poor. And so by doing all of those things that I do now and practicing it, it saved us money and it gave us more of a life back, even practicing them in town. So now, I mean, like I said, we will have to go out and get jobs and such, but right now at the drop of a dime, if someone needs us, we can be there. Even though they're 3 hours away, to us, that's just a country drive now because everything's so far away. It doesn't feel like a long time. I remember I used to feel like, oh, I don't want to go all the way to the grocery store. It's like 15 minutes away. And now we're like an hour away from anything, and it doesn't feel like that much of a difference anymore. But putting those skills to use, there's no reason why you can't do both, even if you are in town. Like, so.
Yeah, you can grow in containers on your balcony, and you can grow in the stairs. You can grow in the window. And I saw Marcy came in. Hello, Learning Curve Acres. I'm gonna get there if somebody else came in.
Another good point too is, I don't know, we're on a live right now and we have a bunch of great people that we talk with often. And I don't know anywhere else where we can sit on a live, look out our window and watch baby goats jump around.
Well, we got to keep an eye on him though, because the little baby one was hanging out near the fireplace and singed his fur a little bit, but he keeps going back because he likes the warmth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And that's something that you were talking about your grandkids. And when I had my pigs last year, for a little while, I had meat chickens. I had a couple of layers. I had a couple of roosters, and I had a couple of different breeds as well. I had rabbits, and I had the 2 pigs. And for like the first month before I had to get rid of my pigs, I have to say there's about 4 or 5 different families that came for a walk and just passed by and came like, can we go see the animals, and can we bring food, and can we take pictures with them, and can we maybe that's one of the reasons why they found out. But at the same time, those kids, when they saw the animals, for them it's something different, it's something new, and you could see in their eyes that they were amazed, they were so happy to be there.
Yep.
Having a place, I think you spend your time just differently. You do what you need when needed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With feed costs as high as they are, having livestock is going to become a status symbol soon. Yeah, you see people with animals now, and some have so many animals. I don't even know how they can feed them.
I know.
It seems that my chickens now are going through like a bag of feed like every few days now, and it's just like, wow.
What do you give them, pellets or like a grain mix?
I have the pellets now.
Do you?
I used to give them the grains, and I was told that they were going to waste a little bit more if I kept going with that. But I would soak it in water, and that way I find that it was a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it took a while for them to get used to the pellets. And now I feel like they're eating it too much. Maybe they're fighting over it whenever I give them the feed. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, when summer comes, they'll have the bugs and the grass and stuff, so it might go back a little bit on cost too.
I need to figure out a way to let them go loose a little bit. It's tough because they go on the neighbor's property, and then I don't want to piss that one off. And my neighbor down, she doesn't like the chickens. Like, she told me she's never going to file a complaint against me. She's not going to complain. She just sends me a message, your chicken is here. Can you just come pick it up?
Yeah.
And it creates a feeling that I don't necessarily like them going there. And if I can't be there to watch them, I'd rather not let them go out, And
Yeah.
I don't.
How close are your neighbors? Fairly close.
I'd say maybe 150 meters, like from my house to theirs.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of space, but it seems that whenever I open the door, the chickens just go right down there.
There must
They,
be something good in the water there.
yeah, I think they go in their plants, so that that's one of the reasons I really don't want them to go. So they probably have something in there that chickens like. It could be
Right.
the compost they put or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's peas that can be bought. Exactly. I feel the same when I drive back to the city.
Yeah.
I drive
Yeah.
to the city every day to go to work, but I hate it. I wish I
Yeah.
could just go in the woods, stay there. When you get out once in a month to go do the groceries or go get the stuff you need, it's probably not as bad. It feels more like I'm going out, and
Yeah.
just thinking about heading into a big city makes my stomach upset. I don't mind going, like, if I go to Montreal, well,
Hmm.
every time I go to go watch a hockey game, so I have a blast. But even if I go to Moncton, which is the biggest city around here, uh,
Hmm.
if I go for a few days, I don't mind. But I definitely would not want to stay there. I stayed there
Yeah.
for a while when I was in university, and I hated it. It's just too fast for me. Like, I want to take time to relax, and I feel like it's always go go go. And
Yeah.
you look through the window, the neighbors see you, you see them, you just get outside on your lawn, and everyone's seeing you and watching you, and too much traffic, and just the traffic itself, I mean, it's
Yeah.
killing.
I remember when I did work, although I loved my job, I used to daydream, like, am I gonna have the country house one day? And I have never daydreamed about going back to the city since 2019. So, I mean, there were actually, going back to when we first moved up, there are some things I didn't expect. So when I first moved up, the first week or two, it was fun, like I said. And then I guess because we lived in a city that was quite big, um, and we lived by an airport. We constantly heard sirens. We constantly heard the traffic. We
Typical
were,
city
yeah,
stuff.
we were in a cute little nook. It was a great area where we were, but you hear all the city stuff, right?
Yeah.
And when we first moved up after the newness of it all wore off and we got a little comfortable,
It was too
I
quiet.
it was too quiet and I
Yeah.
had a hard time sleeping. And then I had to go back to work because they had hired me back for a contract, and I slept at my son's, who has a house in the same city, and I fell asleep like that. And I was so shocked by that because I remember feeling like it was comfort to me to hear all the traffic, to hear even the sirens in the background. I don't even know when the last time we've never heard sirens up here. We've heard sirens when we go out, but
Hmm.
that was a big shock to me because I always used to love to go camping, and the quiet was awesome. But when I went back to his place to fall asleep and I fell asleep really fast, I was like, that to me was crazy. So when I came back up after 3 weeks, I actually put like a city, the white noise machines that you can
Yeah.
get. Well, I got the app on my phone and I had the city and ambiance or whatever in the background, and it worked. And then I stopped using it and now I'm used to the quiet, but it took a while.
Yeah. I The only time I've ever been alone in a quiet place like that was when I went hunting, moose hunting last fall. And I think I'm actually seeing it in the video where it's the first time I'm actually alone in the middle of the woods in a trailer. um, and I mean, it feels good. I wish I had my family with me. I really missed them back then. But at the same time, that just to have that 1 or 2 nights to be alone, it's a whole different feeling. That
Yeah.
um, and you were talking, Mike, earlier about live like spending time in the woods in a tent in a sleeping bag. And there's this channel I follow. It's a little woman. I don't want to say too much. I'm guessing she's in her 60s or maybe even 70s. She's an old lady in Quebec, somewhere in Quebec, and that's what she does. She goes out in the woods, bring her sleeping bag. She brings a little tarp. She'll build a little tent there, and she spends the night in the wood. And I told her, like, I would love to do that. I'm kind of a little bit afraid of the coyotes around here. And then she tried to reassure me, like, how often have you seen coyotes attack people?
Mhm.
Not often, but I've heard stories where it got pretty close lately. So if I go, I would go maybe in the fall or in the spring, where I can have my rifle with me in for in the hunting season, and
Mhm.
probably feel safer. I want to do it though. I really want to try it at least once,
Yeah.
but it's something that it'd be fun to see. It'd be fun to do it. It'd be a good challenge. I don't
Yep.
know if they would be up for it, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
there's a
seen.
few tricks you can do. Like, I mean, typically the coyotes and the wild dogs and whatnot won't mess with you, but they would be attracted to any food or something you brought out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, up here we would probably do the same thing with bears.
Yeah.
So you put it in a bag and then you hoist it up in a tree
Yeah.
and tie it off, so that way it's up and out of the way. Raccoons won't get to it. Those used to be big.
I was just remembering because you brought up the bear. So I don't know if you've heard me say this before. If you had, just shush me. Um, Mike went away to Michigan in the summer, and we had our neighbors up. And well, I had one of my neighbors up, my girlfriend. And so her husband popped in to see if we wanted anything from the store. And he pulls in the driveway and he was swearing and cussing. And we're like, what's going on? And he's like, how holy blank, did you not see the bear? And I'm like, what bear? And he's like, the bear is 100 feet from you guys. And then he left us there. I have now nicknamed him Man Who Leaves Women Alone with Bears. But it was a bear about 100 feet from where we were sitting. And of course, I wasn't like, I told him to, I bet you any money, because we were new to the part of the property we're on now. I'm like, I bet you any money, you are going to leave and a bear's going to show up, because we hadn't seen one yet. We'd only seen pictures. And sure enough, he goes away. So what does Angie do? Angie goes looking for the bear.
She just wanted to give it a hug.
No, well,
She figured it needed a hug. That's what it is.
I'm like, I don't have, like, he had his gun here and I can shoot mine, but I don't like shooting his. So I'm like, does it all work the same in case I'm in danger? And yeah, but I went out looking for the bear, looking for the tracks, everything. And yeah, I thought,
I've been that close to a moose once, but
uh-huh.
never that close to a bear. I'm guessing around 16, 17 years old. My brother is 6 years younger than me. We were fishing on a beaver dam. So you can only imagine it was maybe like 100 feet, and I was somewhere in the middle of it. But it was long, but the pond itself was really short. It was just like a little tiny thing in front of me, and there was a lot of nice little brook trouts. And I just hear my brother. I was there fishing, and I had caught like 4 or 5 trout at that time. And I just hear my brother started running, yelling, "A moose! A moose!" And when I turn around, I swear to God, like I don't even know how he did that. In my head, it looked like he was in a cartoon. He just ran like right on the dam, and I'm like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he was looking for the key for the ATV, and I'm like, "I have it in my pocket. What do you want?" He said, "There's a moose." I'm like, "Where?" And I turned my head back, and like it was right there. It was sniffing my rod. Like, I mean, okay, I'm just gonna. But he just took a sip of water. He looked at me. It was a small bowl.
Yeah.
He didn't have like this big rack, but it was in the middle of the summer, so it was probably still early in the development of the
horns,
antlers. But
antlers, yeah.
he turned around and left, and was like as though nothing happened. But
Thanks, dude.
I kind of realized after that, like, I mean, I could have probably hit him with my rod, like he was right there. I was just fishing, and I'm like, "What are you doing, running right there? Like, what's wrong?" He said, a moose," and I never heard him, because by the time he got out, my brother started running, yelling, and screaming for his life. And when I turned around, that's probably when he went in the water. But I mean, I never noticed he was there. I was so focused on my fishing, but it's the closest I've been to a wild animal that could have actually been dangerous. But he didn't think much of me. He just got in the water, drank, and left.
Well, that's always good, though. It's good when those encounters happen that way.
Yeah. I was looking at incubators today. Anyone have any recommendations? You probably had answers in the comments already, but I don't really have any recommendations, except don't buy the ones I had in some of my videos last year. They are very bad. They ended up making lots of noise, breaking, and you don't even want to know what I did with them after.
Oh, no.
It's growing different squash. Yeah, that's probably what Chris is having. Of growing squash.
Now, did you ever hear the rhyme? If you're out in the woods for bears, there's a rhyme.
Nope.
Really? Okay. So there's it says if it's brown, lay down. So like a brown bear, you lay down and play dead.
Okay.
If it's black, fight back, because you can scare them away, and a black bear will chase you forever. If it's white, good night. Because polar bears are just evil.
I don't think I would like to meet any bear face to face with nothing to defend myself. I've seen. I mean, there's a couple of videos on YouTube that I was watching a couple of years back of grizzlies and cougars and stuff like that. And I mean, I wouldn't want to go face to face with a cougar. But then again, grizzly bear, man, that hit, like, it can probably just take your head off with one
easily.
swing.
They're crazy strong. They're crazy quick. You wouldn't expect it because they're so big.
Yeah. And if there was a video that passed on Facebook where a guy was driving his bicycle, pedaling, and he turned around and the grizzly bear was chasing him, and you could. It's kind of. I'm glad that wasn't me, because I would probably die right there. It's crazy. You see that happen a lot more often now.
You know what? Actually, they find more of is like the cougars. You were talking about those. If you're up in the mountains, they'll stalk you for miles. It's insane, and they catch a lot of it on the Appalachian Trail because it's so long, and a lot of hikers go missing from cougar attacks.
Wow, that's crazy. And that's one of the things I don't like in Canada compared to the States. Like, I'm not necessarily pro guns at all costs. I'm not against guns. I mean, I hunt, so I just wish that if you're in the woods, that it would allow you to have a gun for protection.
Yeah, it's a safety measure at that point.
Yeah. And still, if you get caught with a gun in the woods, you can be charged for, illegal poaching, and yeah.
I've said it since we moved out here. One of the things that I really disliked about it is if I was in Michigan, I'd have a sidearm if I was walking around out in the woods. Especially if it was the Upper Peninsula, which is kind of like the same, biome as up here. You're walking around in the woods, you could turn the corner and, there's a bear and you wouldn't even know it. And if you surprise it, it may attack you just because you scared it.
Yeah.
So if you had just a pistol on you, at least it'd give you a fighting chance.
Exactly. Again, fishing story. We went fishing. There was a spot that we found a couple of years back. We got there and there was this nice beaver dam, and there was like one trout after another. So obviously you have fun, fly fishing, just regular fishing as well. And we tried to go back a few years after, and when we got there, we could see the steps of where the bear crossed the river because the water was still dirty. And I mean, of course, we got there, we didn't know what it was, so we started walking, not really worrying about it. And then we heard a big branch cracking, or we knew it was close, but he left. We knew he was running away because we could hear him. And then we realized it was a bear, but it's kind of scary after that to try to go and fish again, especially with young kids. We want to go harvest blueberries in at the end of the summer, but it's always a matter of, do I bring the kids? Are they gonna, hide behind a bush at some point and get attacked by an animal? Or,
Yeah.
like, I'm probably gonna go this year. I'm hoping to buy my bear license because we're allowed to have a bear in the spring, and if we harvest one, we're allowed to buy a second license for another bear in the fall. So I'm gonna have a license in the fall for sure. So that might be a little bit safer to go, harvest blueberries and raspberries and stuff like that in the woods this year.
Right. I went, oh, it was 2 years ago now. And I went to go apple picking. A neighbor said that we can go onto his property. And we pulled the truck up and we were there for maybe 15 minutes. And I turned to my friend and I'm like, I got to a point, a bear must have just been there because there was fresh bear scat. And I was like, up until that point, we weren't even cautious.
Yeah.
But there was bear scat. So you never know.
I've seen Lewis came in. I'm sorry if I miss anyone. We're having a nice chat here, and I've seen someone else, I think, a little bit later on. I'll catch up to the chat eventually. If I put it on screen, it means that I've seen it, and either we've answered a question or talked about it, or I agree with what you're saying. If you have a question, you can put it in the cap locks. On your property, when you got there, you purchased raw land. So did you have, like, you had to cut cut the woods to open up some space?
Yeah.
Beside the animals that ate all your chickens a couple of weeks back, did you see any animals around you? Like, it's still fun somewhat to see, the wildlife around when they're not attacking you.
Right.
So did you see anything interesting?
Bald eagle.
Yeah, bald
So
eagle.
yeah, we were out here cutting some trees down, and one of the kids saw a bald eagle in the sky.
On
Owls.
the property, no, but near our property, we saw the moose.
Yep.
We've seen several deer.
Oh yeah.
Quail.
Oh, yeah,
The
quails.
big owls.
The fox, the big owls. Yeah. What else? Not quail. What are those called? What are those birds that you did that video on?
Grouse?
Grouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever we thought it was somebody in the distance with starting their generator. That's how city we were. We had no idea until like a year and a half in. We had no idea that it was actually a grouse.
It's like
a generator. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I thought the first couple of times I heard it, I thought it was, someone like working a chainsaw or something, and until I
Yep.
realized, okay, it's a grouse. Yeah. And those are good. If you have them around and you're allowed to hunt them, I really recommend it. They taste somewhat like chickens,
Mm-hmm.
but it's free. It's out there. It's free. It's a wild chicken, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine if you eat a chicken from the store, or you eat a chicken that you fed yourself. Um, those grouse ate wild plants all year long, so
Yeah.
they're very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question, but go ahead.
I was going to say we were kind of lucky in the aspect that when we bought this property we're on, so when we first left the city and moved up to our cabin came with 12 acres, but it was 2 properties. So the cabin itself, if I wanted to sell it, I could, or this property that we're on now, if I wanted to sell it, I could. And so as separate. And so we sold the cabin with 3 acres. So we were lucky that we were able to stay, with our great neighbors and friends up this way. And we kind of knew the land. But we were also pleasantly surprised by the land too, because at our old place, there was no good place to garden that was already open. And when we
There
cleared,
was no soil.
yeah, it was all rock. It was built on a rock. And we didn't know that when we moved up. So we always tell people walk your land, because we had no idea. But we were very, very lucky in the aspect of where we are now. When we were digging for the pole barn posts and the cabin posts and stuff, we didn't really hit rock. We'd hit a big rock, but it wasn't too big that the backhoe couldn't take it out. And so we've got, that we know of, in a lot of spots, at least 6 feet of ground, where we did not have that at the other place. We had maybe 2 inches, maybe 6 inches in some spot if we were lucky, but this spot is much better.
So you're on the same land that you previously bought. You just sold a part of it and you moved to the other one.
Yep.
Yep.
So you have about 9 acres left now.
Yep.
Just under. Yep.
Cool. The question I was going to ask, do you guys hunt at all? Like, is this something in your future plans, or is this something you've done before?
I've done it before, and I plan to do it again. I didn't since we moved up here because
You're
I
busy.
didn't have a freezer really. I didn't have
Yeah.
the space for, storing the meat. So I would just have to give it away
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
cook it up on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
We have, outside of hunting, we have butchered our own chickens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. If you harvest a deer or a moose, you want a freezer to put it away because you can't, even if you want to preserve it, if you want to can it, you can't do it all in one day probably, and
Right.
it takes a while, and you don't want to lose the meat.
Mhm.
As of if you,
Especially if it's a moose. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
lot of meat for one person.
yeah,
I think that would be a
at
group
least
hunt.
300 pound minimum, 300 pound of meat.
Wow.
That's if it's a small one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm kind of excited for him. He had his license back in Michigan, but he never got it when we lived in town. So after the first summer here, he got all his licensing and everything else like that. And then we kind of moved. So he does want to get into hunting, and I've tried deer once, and I didn't, or venison once, and I did not like it. So I'm
Okay.
hoping, but his father, I had a different mindset back then. His father made it for me. And so he made sloppy joes and he tried to trick me. And so as soon as I tasted a texture difference, I was like,
Yeah, you
no.
were.
Yeah. But now I have a different mindset than I did, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And, now I look at it more like, it's food for our family. It's
Yeah.
food, right?
Yeah,
And
and
I
there's
never,
different ways to cook it, also to remove that taste.
yeah.
All taste.
I never thought I'd be the girl either that butchered her own chicken and
There
ate
you
it.
are.
And here I am. And even with the goat's milk, we tried the goat's milk last year. I was so afraid to try it.
That was a good video.
Yeah, we have a video up, and I was like, you could totally tell I was nervous, and I was like, because I was afraid of the goaty flavor that everybody talks about, and I was very pleasantly surprised that it tasted, because we got Nigerian dwarf goats, so it tasted just like the milk that we drank. So that
Okay.
was pretty cool. Yeah.
I've never had goat milk. Never.
Well, when you come up, you can try some.
Cool. That's why I mentioned it. I was hoping you were.
Yeah, we're actually waiting on. I checked out. We had one mom that had twins. I think about 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and then we have one mom that I just went out to check her before the live, and her bag of milk is like ready to explode, and she's got all the signs. So we got to bring her in after this live because I'm thinking she's gonna have them tonight or tomorrow. And I'm hoping there's 2 or 3 girls in there.
Cool. How many goats do you have at the moment?
7 total right now, including the
Okay.
two
The
babes.
twins, yeah.
And what are you gonna do with the extra ones? Are you gonna sell them or eat them?
I'm not gonna eat them.
No.
No, I think, again, going back, if I had to eat
Maybe
them,
one.
maybe, but so when we did the meat birds, I detached myself right away. I knew they had their purpose, they had a good life, but they were meat birds, and I knew that. If it came to where we had no other source of meat, I would rethink. But the goats, for some reason, I don't know. Maybe because I get so attached to them quite quick. The boys we are selling, but the girls, we are gonna keep the girls.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you get attached to them, especially if you bring them inside.
Yeah.
I've seen them inside a couple of times, so it's
There's nothing wrong with that. Except now I can't eat them. So I've never tried goat either. So if I tried goat and I liked it, then maybe my mind would shift again. At least with a deer, I don't know it, and I don't know. It's more of a I don't know. I'm kind of
You
sounding
don't
like
have a personal connection.
maybe, which
yeah.
I do to all animals anyways, but
I mean, that is why we still have a turkey on the farm.
I know. But she was special.
She'll fluff down her
Yeah.
feathers and just let you pet her.
Oh, she's
Oh
an
yeah.
amazing turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah. She was supposed to be Thanksgiving, but everyone else, she was the only one that made it out of all the turkeys. And so then she thought she was a goat, and then she thought she was a chicken, and she just kind of became a pet. So
Cool. I've seen Scott from Rambling with the Brums earlier, and I kind of forgot. So if you're still here, Scott, I'm sorry. Hope you're having fun and a good night anyway. Welcome, Rosie Side Farm and Homestead. Welcome to the chat.
welcome.
First time I see you here, so you're probably one of Mike and Angie's followers, I guess.
I haven't seen that name either.
Or it could be from Shedwar. I've had so many different followers lately. I don't know all of them, so it's good to
Right.
have you here regardless.
Yes, welcome.
And thank you, Marilyn. Don't forget the thumbs up. I still got those trees tapped with buckets, so there won't be still more to come. I was supposed to go this week. The fact that the C virus came in the house, I'm trying not to go around too much. I'm not gonna do it on purpose, like I said the other night. Regardless of what it is, I don't want to go around and spread, even if it was just a stomach flu. Like, I mean,
Right.
I respect people enough to not go somewhere where there's a bunch of people and
Yeah.
chance I might get them sick. I've been saying for a long time I have a place to stay and something to eat. If I have it, all the rest is extra. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my uncle was on welfare for a long time, and that's one of the things he kept saying. You can't pay your electric bill. Okay, like try your best, but make sure you have food on the table, because
Mhm.
if you don't have food on the table, the rest is worthless.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about this lifestyle. Since I started doing it, I've never had to go to my parents for food in the freezer. I mean, I have 2 freezers and they're full.
Right.
We might not always feel like cooking what's in there, but it's there. I have about 300 pounds of meat still in the freezer. Like I'm good to go for a long time. How many birds do I have? If someone from the village is listening, I have 4. If
How many birds do we have, Remy?
you guys have about 20.
That's a great number to have. I
Yeah,
love having 20 chickens.
it's fun.
It's chicken match.
I have names for all of them. Do you want to hear them?
Oh dear Lord.
Made the electric type. Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about that last year actually, and when I got the trouble with the village that I had to get rid of them, I figured I'll try to find another spot first, and I'll get there eventually if I still need it, because if I buy a land or another place somewhere, and I know they're safe because there's no wild animals roaming around, I won't necessarily need to buy electric fence right away. So that's why I was hesitant to buy one right away, but
Yeah.
it might be an option for the future for sure.
We got we ended up getting poultry netting for our goats. That's what we ended up finding, the electrified stuff. And if you don't clip their wings, they get out. They fly right over.
Yeah.
And so just so you know, if you do go that route, you need to clip their wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of videos of people doing it.
Mhm.
Chris was talking about it yesterday, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chicken leg maggots. If you can put a piece of pork in a bucket with some holes and hang it, they will fall out and they will eat them. I've seen that done also with the June bugs. Those creepy little bugs that come out at the end of May and up until the end of June. If you
Mhm.
put a little bowl of water and you put a light at night somewhat close, the June bug will go and fall
Mhm.
in the water, and then you can give that as a treat to your chickens. They love it. They'll fight for it.
Oh, I love that idea, and I'm going to be using it. I
Yeah.
hate the June bugs. I hate them.
You just put water somewhere and put a light there, and they're attracted to light, so they'll go that way, and they usually fly around the light, and boom, suddenly they'll fall in the water and drown.
Right. That's pretty
Chickens
cool.
will also eat berries like elderberries.
Hmm.
Yes,
And
they
I give them like the rest of the raspberries and blueberries. When you get to the bottom of the bag and some of them are not really looking good, I'll give it to the chickens.
Mhm.
They'll eat anything.
I know.
I've got a Great Pyrenees Miramar mix. They're great dogs to have as a deterrent. Cool. I'd like to have a dog that actually helps around the house. The one that we have, except for barking at the planes that pass in the sky, she doesn't really do much. But you know, she's one of the kids' friends. So I wake up every day and look at our bedroom window and still can't believe this is ours. I guess that's a feeling that I'm hoping to get one day. And everyone that finds their land, they all have that same feeling when they get there. Did you get that feeling when you bought the land? Did you get there and like, okay,
Yep.
this is home right away?
Before it was even ours, when we came up to view it, we were like, this can really be ours?
Oh yeah.
Because we grew up near, well, he grew up in Michigan, but I grew up in near Toronto. And so to have anything like what this was, um, it was unattainable. It was just unattainable. And so it was a lot of money. And just to have the trees and the views that we have is pretty awesome.
I still walk, to the end of the property and back, and
Mhm.
it's amazing to think, well, wow, I've been walking all this time, and I'm still on my own land.
Yeah,
Must be an
yeah,
incredible feeling.
it is. And like, it took a lot to get here, but
Hmm.
that's one thing I don't think I will ever unappreciate, and I will always appreciate it. It's just the beauty. Everything is different about up here too. It's like the moon. The moon has never seemed so pretty to me before,
Yeah.
and now it's just in the sun too.
I'm
I love
really
it.
hoping to have that feeling at some point because when we purchased this house, it was in July 2010,
Hmm.
and my girlfriend was pregnant um, with the middle one, and we didn't really have a place to stay. We were renting a house, but we had a feeling that it was haunted, and we there were two houses on the same property, and there were people on that street that were not really like we were in a little tiny city, and there were people on that street that we didn't feel comfortable around. They would go like we could wake up in the morning and then they'd be sleeping on our stairs, like
Yeah.
high on drugs or whatever, and the doors would not lock, and we would keep asking the owner to fix it, and it was never getting done.
Yeah.
So we had to look for a house, and back then the only thing we could afford was this house. It was a very good house for the cost and the place. It was close to my parents. It was in my own home village. Um, but I don't think I've ever felt like, wow, this is my home. This is where I really want to spend the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Never had that feeling. I'm hoping to get that someday.
One day.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, in 10 years from now, things can change so fast.
Hmm.
My youngest is going to be hopefully in college or university. And back then, you know, they won't feel the need to stay in the same school because they won't be here anymore. And who knows what we can come up with.
Right. 10 years can change a lot. We went from in 10, our first, wait, how? So we got married in 2006.
Yes.
By 2008, and when I married him, he had owned his home. By 2008, the recession hit us. And we had to move in with our parents and live in the basement, or my parents. And then here we are from 2008 to 2019 when we got this place, and we were mortgage free because our equity in the last house paid for the property that we're on now and the cabin and that property outright. And so that was all done. And, you know, we moved up in August of 2008 to Canada. And then in April of 2019, so just shy of 11 years, we were mortgage free. So a lot can happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
There is Scott. So he was probably still here. I probably saw him on the other screen there, and that's why it kind of caught my eye.
Right.
Hey guys, I hate fresh tomato with my pesto pasta tonight. We still have 3 left.
Oh, the lawn keeper. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got the seeds for that, so I'm going to grow it this year.
There's going to be a lot of testing. And talking about tomatoes, Annie sent me a message the other day saying that M.I. Gardner had some of those giant crimson tomatoes back in stock. I went there. There was none by the time I got there.
Oh,
so
no.
I clicked the little notification, notify me when they become available again. I got the message around like 11:25, 11:26. I had them in my basket. I was ready to pay. And when it came to pay, out of stock.
Oh, no.
So they go by, like, people are crazy looking for those tomatoes. I'm hoping that a lot of people can grow them and keep the seeds, and maybe next year I'll be able to have some.
Well, I'm growing some this year, so if they do well, there'll be lots of seeds, so I'll send you some.
Around the campsite. Those from Farley, Mowat, and P. Around, yeah.
Oh, for the coyote. Oh, we're that far back in the chat.
Yeah, I guess so. It's weird because I always open the other screen there to see like if something happens that I need to be aware of, and I try to follow here because I mean you're here, and it looks like it's not that far back, but then I look there, okay, like I'm getting confused. So that's great. Remy, if you got. All you got to do is pop up a couple around off your back deck in the air on a regular basis, especially when you hear them, and they'll keep their distance. The problem I have on my property right now is the neighbors' dogs. They come over. I saw them the other morning. I know their dogs now. I sent them a message, like asking politely, like I don't want to fight about dogs, but they come over and they rip my garbage bags, and it tore everything. Like there was garbage everywhere on my property, and it's not fun when you wake up already late for work. Like I don't have time to clean this up,
Right.
And, like if I come down my stairs and step in dog's poop, it's not fun either.
No.
And it gave me a thumbs up, like I figured it was gonna be a little bit more careful, but the next morning they were back here, so I don't know. Hi, Tammy.
Hello.
Diggs. Hello, Diggs Outdoors. A lot of nice people out here tonight. Hope you guys are having a good time. We saw a bear scat on one of our hikes last summer, and I was terrified. It is scary, but the place where it scares me the most is when I go grouse hunting, because I'm going to give you a little secret. My brother's going to kill me for that. If you're grouse hunting, my brother is the kind of guy that if you have a hunting trick, don't tell anyone, because he wants to be able to get all the grouses that he can. Like if he's allowed to have 6 in a day, he wants to have 6.
We won't tell anybody.
No, I'll just. There's only about 100 people that watches my streams anyway. They tend to go in apple trees. If you have wild apple trees on your property, you'll see grouse there, almost guaranteed.
When we first moved up here, and Mike and a few other people were clearing out the trees and stuff, he was always, or she, whatever, was always at where we put the goats.
Yep.
We always heard it going from there, and probably about 25, 50 feet from that spot is a wild apple tree.
Yeah, they're probably right there. And the thing is, if you're driving around and you see an apple tree, you can pass by. There could be 10 birds in there. You won't see them. For some reason, the way that they sit, the way that they have their necks out to eat the apples, they're pretty much the same color as the apple trees. You won't see them. You can get out of your car, go right under the tree, start looking around, and like I went with Anthony last year, my son, and I saw an apple tree, and I right in the middle of a field. So I looked, turned around, I looked again, nothing there. Okay, I'll leave the gun here. Let's go grab some apples because we were also gathering apples. I put my hand on the tree. The grouse starts flying, and another one goes right down in front of me. I looked around and said, Anthony, go get my gun. I swear to God, there was just like this one branch. I could have caught it with my hand. It was right there, not moving.
Did you get it?
Give me the gun. Yeah. I mean, it never moved. It's crazy.
Wow.
They love the apple trees really, really bad. You can feel your limit if you just go around driving and looking for wild apple trees.
We have lots of them up here. Lots. Now we know.
Yeah. So saying hi to everyone. Hello. I was doing the forest inventory once, and I landed in the blueberry patch at the end of summer alone away off the truck. Oh boy. I sang out loudly that time.
Yep.
And what I was going to say is, I go hunting, I go towards the apple trees, and I often go under them and try to go around them and look at every single branch I can. And there's so many bear poop around. It's crazy. You don't see them, you don't hear them necessarily, but you can just see, like, it's right there. You can see that there's a lot of them, and you see the trails, and you see where they come and go. Like, it's
our neighbor's property he has tons of bears. Yeah.
And elk. That must be an interesting animal to get face to face with.
I have never seen an elk out here. I don't even know if are they in Ontario?
I've seen them.
You've seen an elk?
On Discovery Channel.
In Ontario?
I know there's some in Alberta, and there's always some people around raising them. So
I think they are actually up this way, but there aren't very many.
Yeah.
That could be
I remember
so rare.
somebody saying something one time, like any of the elk that are up here, don't touch them because they're tagged.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess they're trying to bring the population back or something, but don't quote me on that. That was a conversation that happened a couple years ago, so it could be wrong.
Melissa's saying that she can't wait to see a moose out here. I opened my door a couple of years back to put a garbage bag on my deck, and there were 2 moose right at the end of my driveway. Moose is very abundant around here, not as much for deer. We don't see much deers. Hello, Josh. Welcome to the chat.
Hello.
I'm hoping you're still here by the time I read the comments.
That's why I used to go back to Michigan to hunt with my dad and my brother. Is the deer herds down there are incredible.
Okay, I will say this. I don't know what it's like out in New Brunswick. I wasn't raised by hunters, nothing. I was never really, I knew when hunting season was, and that was the extent of it. So when I married him, I moved to Michigan, and we were driving on equivalent to, like, in Ontario, the 401 or a major highway. And it was the end of the weekend. And I swear 1 out of every 5 vehicles didn't have a deer on it. So 4 out of 5 had deer. And I was like, this was insane. Like, I remember feeling jaw dropped. There's so many deer. We can be driving and you just see, I don't know what it's called when there's a group of them, but herd of them just everywhere. And it was insane to me. And up here, we've seen a mom and 2 babes.
Yeah.
And I almost saved one once down the road, but
yeah, they used to shut school down for the first week of opening season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
Oh yeah.
It'd be fun to go at some point if there's a possibility there. I would definitely love to go. Uh,
Yeah.
Around here in my county, um, hunting deer is illegal because there's not enough deers. So we can't hunt in those zones around here.
Yeah.
When I go deer hunting, I have to drive at least 3 hours away, and I harvested two deers in my life. For 20 years of hunting, I've had two deers. There were two deers in a row. In 2013, I had a spike. 2014, I had a seven pointers. I think it's in 2009. My brother had a 14 pointers. It was a monster buck.
Wow.
Um, and I think my dad had one in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, or close to those range. Um, Beside that, none of us gets anything. We go
Mhm.
hunting at least a week per year, three or four, even five hunters at a time,
Yeah.
and we barely ever see anything.
Maybe you
We
should
see
come up here.
does.
Yeah, I was gonna say come because up here too, it like they shut things down here. You can't get like when we were starting building the cabin, we needed gravel, and we called and they're like, we're shut down for 2 weeks. It's hunting season,
Cool.
and so it's very very much like that up here. But yeah, there's hunting parties. Like
Mhm.
it's just a big hunting town. So
I'm not sure how it is in Ontario, but I think it's pretty much the same rules all over Canada. If you go out of your province, you need a guide. So I would not be allowed to hunt if I didn't have someone with a guide license.
A guide license.
Yeah, like a
that
Interesting.
sounds like a money grab, but no.
well,
Because if you
it,
come to Michigan, they have you. It's like an out of state or out of country license, so it's a little bit more. But you don't need a guide. You just need to, buy the license and the tags.
yeah, maybe it's different for deer. But I know here in New Brunswick, if someone comes from out of the province, they need to have a guide. Um, but I have my certificate. Like I don't pay the $10 every year, but if I wanted to, it's only $10. So if someone wants to come here hunt with me, I'm not allowed to hunt if I have someone with me, but it's only $10. Like if let's say you wanted to come moose hunting with us at some point, you apply for your license. If you get it, you could come with me. I'm just gonna pay $10 for my license, and we can go moose hunting with you.
Hmm.
But and like you said, I know it's a little bit more expensive. I think instead of being like maybe $50, it's probably around like $300 for someone that's out of a province. There's a
Yeah.
big difference, and then you have to think about logistics. Place to sleep, gas to get there, the transportation, and all that. But if
Did not know
something
that.
happens, I mean, it's an incredible experience for sure.
Mhm. So is it expensive to get your guide license, or is it
Um,
just $10?
it's only $10, and like you don't have to take the course. You can just challenge the exam. That's what I did. I challenged the exam, and there was that you needed 80% to pass, and I'm pretty sure I had 75% because the guy came to me and said, "Okay, I'm getting ready to correct your exam. Do you have any questions before I go any further, just in case there's one question you didn't completely understand?" I'm like, "Okay, well, this one here I didn't exactly understand what you're asking." So he explained the question, and I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to change the answer." And he's like, "Okay, good, you passed." So
That
like
was pretty awesome.
yeah, and then it's only $10 if I want to be a guide.
Yeah.
I remember the first year, it was my uncle that dragged me into this because he's into hunting and fishing a lot. And the first year, I was in grade 12, and he had a bunch of people from all those big companies on Quebec side. All those reps from those fishing companies and hunting gears companies and stuff like that. And he came over, and they were giving me like $50 a day just to sit on a boat and go watch them fish. So to me, it was like, really, like, I'm not gonna go to school. I'm gonna lose a day of school. I'm gonna sit in the boat and just enjoy the drive for fifty
Right.
dollars any day, like any time I would
Hey,
go,
are you
and
busy
especially
tomorrow?
back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like in 2001, $50 was even more than now, you know.
Right.
And I remember this guy brought me aside and he's like, "You're graduating this year?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, you look like a nice guy, so there you go." And he handed me an extra $50. I'm like, I made like $200 in like 3 days just for sitting in a boat, basically just to be there. It was
Right.
awesome.
That is
It was
awesome.
awesome. Yeah. Don't. Sean was saying whenever you go out in the woods for a hike, try to be at least two-person. If you can't outrun the bear, make sure you can outrun the people that's with you.
Right.
True buddy system.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is, when I go in the woods, I tend to go with the kids, so I'm
Hmm.
gonna let them run and try to fight it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Creeps me out to sneak out to hunting spot before sunrise, trying to be silent, no flashlight sometimes, depending on the spot, with the gun still locked up. Good way to. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing in New Brunswick. You have, I don't know if it's the same thing everywhere, but if it's dark, you're not allowed to hunt. Therefore, you're not even allowed to have your gun charged and ready to shoot. It is a little bit scary, especially like Ren's saying there. At
Yeah.
night, it's dark. You want to be ready, in case something happens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. Gonna go. Okay. Take care, Mercy. Thanks for being here.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to catch up a little bit faster because I'm way behind.
Speed round.
I'm like 30 minutes behind. That's 8:50 right there. 8:50 p.m.
Wow.
It's 9:23 right now. Okay, I'm gonna go down a little bit. Grouse running sound like someone dropped a basketball. Yeah. Hello, Michael. Sorry I didn't see you earlier here. Michael Sharp, he's on my Shedwar's team. If you haven't seen his videos, go ahead check him out because um, he's a silent guy. He doesn't talk much, but he always has those weird little creatures that we don't have around here,
Hmm.
and he takes them in his hands like snakes and stuff like that. I don't like snakes, but I don't know. For him, it's just all natural and it's fun to see. It's nice. He does his gardening stuff, and suddenly you'll see a snake and grab the snake, and suddenly you'll see a lizard, and just hoping someday he doesn't see an alligator somewhere and then his plans. But
I
he
hope
keeps
so
telling
too.
me that he's safe.
He'll pick it up, snuggle it.
Oh yeah, that's probably not fun. Uh, I'll see y'all later. All right, take care. Thanks for being here. If you like venison, you would like goats. Very much alike.
Okay.
I love wild meat. So you're hunting in the 10 seconds between noticing it.
See, that's the one thing I did get from the military. I went to school for it because it gave me something else to do. So I used to run the chemical, like warfare training. So dropping the CS gas in there and showing everybody to trust their gas mask. Most of my taste buds are dead, so it all just tastes like chicken and steak.
The dog came down the stairs again. You probably heard. The thing in New Brunswick, Ren's homestead, if you see a deer, you might not have 10 seconds.
Mm.
Higgy Homestead, welcome. Hello, Henny. Welcome to the chat. I'm
What are
so
they
far back.
They're like going on jumping all over everything.
I wish. I don't know. Can we show them?
I don't know if we can or not.
I don't know if you
We
guys are
try.
going to be able to see this.
They're
This is,
outside.
yeah, that's our view right now. Can you see?
Yeah.
They're jumping around, going nuts.
They almost look like a dog. They're acting like dogs.
They are.
So,
just going-
parkour.
Yeah, parkour. Everything's parkour.
You could probably do a live stream of them playing like that, and you
Yeah.
would have a bunch of people, a bunch of watch time.
We should
Like I
try
would
that.
sit there
Yeah.
all day just watch that.
Right. I want to get. I'm hoping to catch the next mama that's having her babes. I'm hoping to catch that, and if it's not like midnight or anything, maybe do a live stream or something. I think that'd be
That'd be
cool.
nice. I'll watch it when I wake up.
Right. Well, I
Hello,
won't do it if
Go
it's
for so
midnight, but
yeah. Hell can stand there a minute before they realize you're there. That's good to know if I ever see one
right.
face to face with an elk in Michigan. I walked in front of my car, and thank God I stopped the car ahead of me. Around here, it's moose, and I think it's worse because they're black and they're big, and you
Yeah.
have like if you hit a moose, I mean, you don't have any chance. Like some
No.
Yeah.
people survive accident, but it's
And I
very, very
was
rare.
told that, like, with deer, that you can see the shine in their eyes. That with moose you can't, because they get like a red shine, so you can't even really see it.
Yeah. You can. I was driving back I was young. I think I was 18 years old. There was this little pub club for like 14 to 18 years old, and I was 18, so we would drive there on. I think it was on Friday nights, and my buddy would come from about 40 minutes from my place, come pick me up, and then they didn't want to drive, so I would drive. And you had this little, I think it was like a 1995 Ford Festiva, those little, very small cars.
right.
And you're young, you want to go a little bit faster than you're supposed to, and then suddenly I see the car in front of me, just like put the brakes on, and I'm like, okay, something's going on. And I started slowing down, but by the time I realized I was already there and I saw the moose, I just, as fast as I could, just try to get out of this way. And my buddy on the passenger's seat just saw the moose like barely passing by the mirror. So it was just like a tiny, maybe
Wow.
centimeter before we hit the
Wow.
moose. Like I slowed down after.
Yeah.
Since then, I'm kind of scared at night. Like if I drive with someone at night, I'm like my eyes are wide open. I can't
Yeah.
sleep. During the day, I'll sleep.
Yeah.
I can sleep in a car, no problem. I probably fall asleep in a car.
Yeah.
It puts me to sleep easily. But at night, it's like okay, I not that I don't trust the driver, but I don't trust like the most. There's
Right.
so much of them out there.
I don't think people know, like some people don't, like I didn't understand how, I knew they were big, but I didn't understand how big they were. And a friend of ours, they were coming up to visit us, and they pulled over because there was a vehicle that had just forklift. No, not a forklift.
Tow truck?
No, it was like, I guess it was kind of like a backhoe, but by the time they had put their things way up in the air, they still couldn't get the moose's neck off the ground. And so they had the moose hanging from whatever piece of big equipment they had, and the moose's neck was still on the ground. So they're large, they're very, very big, and they would totally have destroyed that little car that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing in Canada, at least in New Brunswick, if you hit an animal with your car, the meat goes to waste. I know in the States you can claim the animal.
Yeah.
And take it. I know the meat might not be the best quality because you just hit it and the stress and everything, but
Yeah.
you can ground it.
It'll be tenderized.
Yeah. Did you read something I didn't? Summer. A lot of kids' first job was raking blueberries. Around here was strawberries. Behind my house, we have a strawberry field.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my first job.
Do they go on forever?
Strawberries?
Strawberry fields forever.
Oh.
No, nobody.
A beat. No, you were alone in that.
It's the Beatles.
I should have known that too.
Maybe I should go back to with one question. I had more viewers when I was asking you questions. I don't like when I talk, so I'm going to let you guys talk. You were talking about, at some point wanting to go back off grid. What do you feel you need to do now before you get there again?
Earn the money.
Build the house.
Yeah.
Finish the house.
Yeah. The main thing for us, the reason why we went on hydro again was A, the pole was right there, and B, we were spending anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month to run the generator, and that was with shutting it off at night. And that was before the gas prices went up. And so we want to make sure that there was enough to finish the house, and so we went with hydro because it was like not very expensive to get it hooked up. And so we did do some of the work ourselves as far as digging the tunnel, because we buried the lines underground. And so it was much cheaper. And even now, like our first hydro bill was $110 for the, I think 3 weeks, but that was also with a $50 set or $45 setup fee. $60 setup fee.
Yeah. So our hydro bill for the month was basically like $40.
Yeah. Which I expected to go up because it was our first 3 weeks.
But even still, like, and the reason we were on the generator for so long is we didn't anticipate the build taking as long as it did.
Yeah.
We didn't foresee like getting the permits took a few weeks longer than we anticipated. Then we didn't anticipate getting shut down for hunting season. We didn't notice that coming up. And then with supply demands and everything, we're waiting still on, like, you know, garage doors that we ordered in October. We're still trying to get the steel for the roof for the cabin.
There's always setbacks, right?
Yeah, there's always something. And so we found a place up in Ottawa that we're going to go check out some windows
next week.
And hopefully, because he has windows in stock. So we might not have all the same type of windows in the house, but that'll be okay because you can always change those out later.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. We just need to get them and have them in hand, and then that way he can finish framing out the upstairs, right? So it's exactly where everybody saw it last still. So hopefully the build gets back on here soon.
Yeah, you haven't done a video on it for a while.
Well, I can't finish the framework until I know what windows I have, so I know upstairs, the sizes. Yeah. And then I can't really do a whole lot anywhere else because we don't have a roof on it. So it could just get messed up and retain water or moisture inside. So it's just at that stage where I got to wait till, you know, supply comes in, and then I can kind of move forward.
But did you manage to remove all the snow you had in there? I know at first you had a big snowstorm, and
yeah, I got some of it out, but it was
melted a lot of it.
Yeah, like it'll probably melt before
we can see the wood again.
Yeah.
So
cool. Thank you for being here, Lynn.
Thank you.
Windows, that's fun. And you know what? If you ever decide to change the windows, and even if you can find some like old ones that people are throwing out, you can build a small greenhouse with it. You have one. I know you want to have one inside your house, like a little
off the side,
but I've seen. Was it Chris did that to Chris and Steph, right? They did one where they had a bunch of windows and.
Yeah, it was Chris and Steph, because I know Darren made his kind of more not from used windows. I think it was he had a real like structure that he put up and everything else.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to be careful when you do that is to make sure that, you know, the frame is solid, because if you have just a bunch of windows, the weight of the snow in the winter could just make everything break. But
that's where my hope is. The greenhouse may not get done this year, which is okay as long as it gets done before next seed starting time. But the greenhouse I want is almost Victorian, the stone bottom with, you know, glass and metal bars, I guess, and crank windows. I want it to be manual if I can. So we have a lot of rocks that we've collected from when we were digging. So I don't know if we're able to use them, but the hope is that we can. So
cool. So any other plans beside finishing the house? And you guys want to build a barn later?
Our plans have plans.
Yeah, well, we're living in the barn right now. Well, this is more his garage, but We have to build goat shelters, chicken shelters, because we're going to get chickens again.
Dog kennel.
I
want to finish upstairs because we ended up putting a full
Yeah.
upstairs in the barn, because we couldn't get trusses again with supply, and so eventually what I'd like to do is finish up upstairs to make it more
of the barn.
an overflow or a bunkie for somebody who's visiting.
Right.
And then off the front of the barn, I was thinking I could even put a deck.
Yeah.
So I'll build a raised deck up there.
That's further down the line.
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, plans have plans.
Yeah, I know.
I even framed out in the front for a slider, like a sliding glass door.
Yeah.
Up top.
Cool.
If I can find French doors that'll work and fit, I'd rather do that because I can open both of them right up and then just lift stuff up with the backhoe.
Yeah.
The front loader and push it right in. So it'd be easy to get furniture and stuff up there rather than trucking upstairs.
Yeah. And
So
that's pretty much it for a little bit of an orchard and a garden, but
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, an orchard is always a good thing.
yeah. And then after
all
all that's done, a maple shack so we can collect maple syrup next year.
You have a bunch of maples around on your property?
Oh, what's funny? Okay. So our property that we're on now and the property we had are two different roads. So we had a corner lot. And so we lived, I'm very visual, so I have to put my hands up. Okay. So this, wait, let me see here. Okay. So right now we're up here on this part of the property. And then on this part of the property down here more is where the 3 acres was. So when we moved to this part of the property, it wasn't about until a month in, and we went just on a tour, and we were just gonna, we'd already walked the land several times before, because we owned it before we moved onto it, and we had no idea that close to where the cabin is was the perfect maple area. It was tons of maple trees running downhill. So it's perfect to tap all those trees, put the lines in, and have it run to like a big shack. And so that's what our plans are for next year. But we couldn't believe how close it was to the old house. And we had done maple syrup at the old house, but we went the other way, the other direction. And we had no idea that this little gold mine was there. So we very much look forward to tapping those trees.
Cool. And yeah, I'm hoping that I'm gonna be able to go help my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is down here for the week, and I can't even go see him. That's something else. I mean, when you start tapping your own maple trees, it feels like it opens up something else. It's like totally different. You can have a homestead, but for the people in the States, they will probably never know what this is. They'll tap birch trees maybe, but
it's not the same.
Yeah.
No, it's nothing like maple syrup.
Oh, and when we tapped the trees when we were over at the other cabin because we wanted to try it, first thing I did is I built out of an old metal desk. I flipped it over, took the top off of it, and used it like a barbecue. So I set it up where I would just start a fire with logs and wood underneath, and was trying to boil my sap that way. Well, the wood was kind of wet, the ground was wet, so it was really smoky. So the first batch of maple syrup I got was really dark and smoky, and it has that smoky flavor to it. Angie didn't like it, but I loved it.
Yeah.
It's probably something different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, we learned all sorts of new stuff to it, like how to make it clearer and how.
And that, I think too, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Getting back into a house is right now. I kind of feel like we're not doing the thing. Like we'll have a garden, but we're not doing all of the things that we were doing at the other cabin because we're kind of dormant right now, waiting for. We can't do anything big because everything's packed away. So.
I was going to say something and then I forgot what I was going to say.
That sometimers.
Welcome to the club, Remy.
Welcome to the club. Is that because I'm getting older, or is it just the way life is going now? I don't know. Oh man, I don't even know what to say anymore. Well, All right, don't forget about it. It might come back later. If anyone in the chat has anything to say, any questions for Mike and Angie, go ahead.
Mhm.
I was talking today. I see Annie back to basics homestead. Going back to the basics, which is something that we kind of all want to do by doing the homestead. And I was talking to
Mhm.
one of my coworker today. She's a pharmacist. She's a very smart person. Um, she doesn't see things the same way I do in terms of homesteading. And well, I don't like saying that out loud. Let's just say that she makes more money than I do, and she sees that part of life a little bit different than I do. Let's just put it this
Right.
way.
Mhm.
And then today we were having a little discussion before I left work about how everything was more expensive, and about the fact that I can't put $1,000 aside for emergency fund, but I can put food aside if something happens.
Right.
We were kind of having this discussion the last couple of days also, and she said that let's go. We need to go back to the old ways. She keeps saying that her grandmother would save those little milk bags,
Oh, my grandma too.
and she would put all the veggies in there and put it in the fridge like that. I even tried using those plastic bags to see if they would seal with my vacuum sealer. They don't. I
No.
was also told to be careful with milk because you can never really 100% clean the bags. There's always some residues that stay behind.
Mhm.
And, all that conversation is going to lead me to. I was speaking to a friend of mine today. He said he needs to talk to his wife first because she probably wants to come with him. Um, I want to interview them in a few weeks because they managed to get to the point where they have zero waste.
Wow.
Zero waste. They
That's crazy.
either recycle everything, reuse everything,
Mhm.
or that's where I want to touch base with them to see what do they do different that we don't here, because we have two garbage bins outside and they're always full. So I know we don't compost enough. Um, I'm trying to get the family members in here to put that in their heads. If you, instead of throwing the rest of your food away, if you're not going to eat it, put it in a compost. Let's.
Right.
I'm. It's probably my fault. I need to build something on my deck to make sure that it's easy for them to put it there. But there is some stuff we can do. And you said that you didn't have good soil back at the old place. I'm guessing it's better where you are now, but you didn't have a chance to grow anything yet there, right?
Not here, no. This will
So
be the first year. So I'm going to see if I can find some compost. The soil looks good. We have a big pile of topsoil
okay.
that we're going to use for our garden that we saved from when we were digging up for the house and stuff. And so we have the topsoil, and I'm going to see if I can find compost and whatnot. I bought a soil test kit to see if it's alkaline or acidic.
Okay.
So I'm going to do some of that once it's less exposed or less covered in snow. But yeah, you can plant. I think we can plant in the dirt that we have. It does look like really good soil. I do want to add the compost, like I said, but as long as with each plant that you plant, for me, I put like everything that it might need. So I'll put the Maggie photobomb. I'll put the compost and stuff right with the plant instead of the whole garden. So, hi, baby.
Maggie, if you hear me now, when I go see you, be nice to me because I gave you your name.
Yes, you did. This is the fella that named
Be
you.
nice to me.
He's so big now.
Yeah,
Oh, give
she
her
looks
baby.
like a big baby.
She's a big baby.
Annie's asking how the baby goats are.
They're doing great, and we're hoping the other ones come like
Oh, now
tonight.
they're laying down.
They're laying down and
They
being
were
calm
popcorning
now.
everywhere and
Yeah.
parkouring sideways off
tired
the
themselves
couches
out.
and stuff out there. It was crazy to watch.
I caught a photo the other day. It's hard to see, but we have the chairs that were in the trailer out there by the fire, and Mama was sitting on the chair looking at the fire while the baby goats were playing. And I'm like, man, those goats have it good.
And that's a good point, Ren's homestead, with everything going up. And that's one of the discussion we had, the pharmacist and I, where she said, it's one thing to grow your own food, but if it's still costing you more than what you buy at the store, then is it really worth it? But then again, like Chris and Steph showed in the last couple of videos they made. It's not always about, is it worth it really financially, but at some point it's more of it comes to the point where it's always worth it because you have better quality food. You have, it's organic, it's better for you, and you know where it comes from, and it tastes so much better. But it's true that if you can have the equipment now, that it's cheap, by the time the food comes, so expensive that you can't even afford it, you'll be still able to feed yourself.
Yeah.
Well, it goes, it needs to be said too that like all the pesticides and everything that come on the food and are in things these days, it really makes a difference when you eat raw food that you've had or grown yourself. And it was pointed out to me really, really strongly when I was down in Florida. And I love orange juice, but every time I drink orange juice, I get like acid reflux really bad. And we stopped by an orchard down there, and you can just buy like orange juice from the orchard like you would like an apple orchard up here, right?
And it was processed that day.
Yeah, so it's just fresh squeezed orange juice with nothing else. It's just in a bottle. That's it. And I drank the whole thing. Zero reflux, no reaction to it, nothing. And so I like it just blows me away.
Yeah.
Or the fact that I'm lactose intolerant, but I had goat's milk and nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I started doing a garden, when I started a couple of years back, because I also had stomach issues, acid reflux, and, indigestion at some points. And in the winter, I don't eat as good because I run out of stuff fast. In the summer, when I can go and harvest fresh cucumbers for my snacks at work, when I can go and grab some carrots and all kind of fruits like that, vegetables from my garden, fruits from my bushes and stuff like that. I don't have those issues, and I feel so much more healthy. Like it's totally a different thing. So we've been on for almost 2 hours now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, time goes by fast when you're having fun, right?
That's it.
Good. There. Dirt is not cheap anymore. Yeah, dirt is not cheap anymore, but that's why we have to start doing our own compost, I think.
Yeah, and if you learn about hot composting too, it'll get you some compost pretty quick. I just learned about it a couple of years ago, and it works quite well. So
yeah, I've read on it, I've watched videos on it, I tried to do the same thing, but it never works out. So I don't know, I'll have to keep digging and keep checking, I guess.
I showed the kids when we lived in the city. This is how I discovered it, but I didn't know it was a thing. So I started saving all my grass clippings from cutting the lawn, and I put them in a tote. And later on in the day, the kids had gone out and came back inside. Bye, Annie. Came back inside, and it was almost like the grass clippings were on fire. They were so hot that they were smoldering. So, yeah.
It gets cheaper the further it's located from Costco.
Very true. Although the dirt at Costco to start your seeds, the Pro Mix, it's cheap there compared to buying, a bag of it. You get a big condensed block for $17.99, and that'll do all your seeds.
At Costco?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Might have to make a trip to Moncton soon then. The There was a
Right.
buddy of mine that passed away just a little before Christmas, and
Hmm.
he was living the dream. He was living the life. He had just bought a farm. He was getting ready to retire. He was 40 years old, getting ready to retire totally. He was a computer programmer. He was having a good salary, good job, and he wanted to farm. And he got hit by cancer, and he was told he had a couple of weeks to live. And
Wow.
he went down so quick, like I didn't have a chance to go see him or anything. And one of the thing after that is girlfriend was selling the animals, well, some of the animals, because she couldn't care for all of them.
Right.
And I really wanted to have some of those rabbits. It would have been a way for me to remember him.
Yeah.
But the cost of gas now, it's so expensive. Like I keep checking if someone's coming from there 3 hours away. Um, I also want to put money aside for when I go see you guys. And
Right.
like it's to the point where should I just say like it and just go, or keep looking
Yeah.
if someone goes
Yeah.
that way.
Just say that. Just say and go.
Yeah, I should. I should.
What are you gonna look back and regret more?
Yeah, but you know what? The one thing I regret right now is
Mhm.
when I went moose hunting, he was down here. He was up here, and we were supposed to have a beer together.
Mhm.
And at that point, everything regarding
Yeah.
this that's going on was a little bit worse than it is now. And I had just been in contact with someone. I would have been supposed to be in quarantine. I ended up going hunting anyway. I was told by the employee health at work that go, but stick with your family. Don't go in hunting parties and stuff like that. So I told them, you're in a place where there's a lot of people. It's better if I don't go now.
Mhm.
If you have a chance, come see me. We can still do things, um, keeping our distance and stuff. But it didn't happen, and that's one thing I'll probably regret forever is not going to have that last beer with him.
Right.
It's uh, it's I'm getting emotional now, but
But you
it is
have
what
all
it
the
is.
other times that you had with him too.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I met that guy because he was going out with my cousin at some point, and he got really really good friend with her brother, and that brother is s- probably my best friend. And he says that I'm his best friend, and he was also his best friend, and we were all always having a chat. We always kept contact no matter what happened, and that's one of the things that he had going for him is the farm. And I could see through his eyes what having your own land was. He kept making videos about deers on his property. He kept making videos of his animals, and we were talking about at some point I want to go hunt on your property, and he was always saying like not this year because I want to know my property a little bit more. I want to know how many deers we have. I want to know what's going on, and then I want to make sure there's enough to for my family first, and then you'll be the first one I'm gonna call after. Like um,
Mhm.
it never happened, but it's just that the fact that
Hey, Maggie.
she's not
You should
happy.
take her up.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go take her up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that with what happened to my brother, that's one of the regrets that I don't have. I it's always painful that I was not able to say one last goodbye because he had to be incinerated because he shot himself, and there was too much damage. I didn't want to show him like that, and I totally understand that. That was the hardest part probably of losing my brother. But the night before that happened, we were there at my parents' place. It was his birthday a few days early, and we had brought him a present, and just to see him with the kids, that's something that I will always remember. I
Mhm.
remember it's crazy when you have family like that. I remember going to a soccer game with him, and we were playing on the same team, and we had a fight, and I mean a fight, and our teammates were like, "Okay, guys, we have to stop them." And my buddy was there, like, "Are you crazy? I'm not getting between them. They like they won't stop. There's nothing holding them back. Like they're two brothers fighting. Like how crazy can it get?" Then a few days later, if someone would touch any one of us on the team, the brothers would be the first one to come. Like I was playing with my two brothers, and I remember at some point, someone was in the stand, and we had a brawl, and he's like, "I just saw Remy running, Pascal running, and then the goalie brother throwing the gloves in the air, running to the ball," and it's like, okay, the Arsenal brothers are into it, and I remember getting home, and my mom was like, "What did you guys do?" And my dad was like, "What happened?" They had a brawl, they had to have a brawl. Like my dad, the only thing is like, well, they're sticking up together, like that's one of the things about my brother I'll always remember. It's we could fight, but nobody could fight us other than us. Um, it's I don't know. It's
Nobody picks on my brother but me.
exactly that was the deal. Hello, Life with Linda and Chuck. Welcome to the chat. You always come just a little bit late, and we're always about to leave. We were kind of running out of things to say, and I know Mike and Angie have to go attend their pregnant goat.
Yeah, we got to go bring her in. Hey, you know what? That's something else I've gotten kind of pretty good with lately. So I've got a dog leash, and I'll just take because it's all like almost knitted or woven, right? But it's thick. So I'll take the leash and run it through the handle, and I just go out there, and I lassoed her last night with it around her neck so I could bring her in. And normally I gotta like beak and dodge and try and get her in a corner, and then I'll slide it over her head. Last night I just lassoed her, and I was like, "Woo! Look at this!"
Are you talking
Regular
about the
cowboy.
dog, the goat, or Angie?
No, goat. Or Angie. Of those three, I bet you can guess who I'm more scared of.
Yeah, let's not say it too
Oh no, I've told her I married the only woman ever scared the hell out of me.
loud. Well, that's good. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go and check your goats. We've been
Okay,
here for
bud.
2 hours. Thank you very much for being here. You kind of saved my life tonight. Um, I
Thanks
don't know
for
what I
having
would have
us.
done.
We enjoyed hanging out.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what I like about those live streams. It's most of the time it's a bunch of friends having a chat, and you know that's what we try to do.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you everyone for being in the chat. Also, I think it's the first live I have that I don't have any spam. Weird.
You don't have any haters tonight?
All right, so take care, everyone. I'm gonna go to bed. I've slept for like 3 hours last night, so I'm gonna go get some rest. And
All right,
if
Remy.
I happen to wake up in the middle of the night and you guys are live streaming the birth of a goat, I will be watching that. All right, take care. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night, guys.
Take care. Ren.